It's not that I think the social justice ideology or intersectionality, whatever you want to call it, is a mental illness, but I do think people with mental illnesses are attracted to this ideology. Take note. Jamila Jamil tweeted, "Being a woman and leaving your house feels like rolling the dice on your life. Sometimes it's even scary being in your house. It's exhausting, draining, and tedious to always feel like a target." Whoa. Whoa there. That's a serious psychological condition. If you are having anxiety and feel threatened all the time, that is not normal, okay? And it's really interesting that Jamila would tweet this because she thinks it is normal. She thinks women feel this way. No, 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 no. Being a woman that is not normal at all. If you feel, so let me just say this to anybody who might have anxiety. If you feel like you're constantly being threatened, if you're paranoid and concerned, seriously, call someone and get some help. Jamila, this tweet does not represent the average person. You know, there's a lot of people saying they can't relate. This is not a woman thing. A lot of women are saying this is not how someone should feel. This is a psychological issue you're having. Now, some of you may be wondering who Jamila is, just before we get into this. She is an actress, and she plays, what's that woman's name? She plays a character on the show The Good Place. Can't remember the name of the character. Tahani, there you go. And so she's relatively well-known, 800,000 followers on Twitter, and she has tweeted that leaving her house feels like a roll of the dice. That's scary. So you know, ultimately what I end up seeing with a lot of these far-left social justice types is this idea that they're constantly under threat, that all men are violent, that they're being victimized. And I think that what we might be seeing in many of these circumstances are mentally unwell people who are paranoid and terrified, and they're sort of coming together because they have a shared delusion that the world is that unsafe. Seriously, this is the United States. You can walk around and do whatever you want. In fact, if she went to a store and smacked someone in the face as the aggressor, it's very likely she wouldn't even be arrested, right? And that's kind of where, and it's a complicated issue, right? The point is, the world is, the United States, very safe. Not always. But no, it's not normal to feel this way. Now, one of the things that really bothers me, sorry, I got allergies, about this narrative of constantly feeling persecuted and anxious and terrified, you've got a bunch of people responding saying, like, as a woman, I've never felt this way. I believe others do, and that's sad. Yeah, but that's a problem. They sort of band together and create this perpetual state of victimhood. This Twitter user said, "Is this the message you want to spread? There's always a risk going outside. However, you can't live your life in fear. This is not empowerment." No, this is someone who it's not even a political issue. This is somebody who is a celebrity who is actually agoraphobic. Like, seriously, agoraphobia is, you know, I'm not an expert on this, but it's like an irrational fear of leaving the house. I think what we're seeing here is that there are people who have agoraphobia and other irrational fears, presenting them in public and then demanding special protections under a political, you know, facet of some sort. This is agoraphobia, if I were to make an assessment. But I want to make a few points. First, I pulled this up. This is from NIJ, National Institute of Justice.gov. Men become crime victims more often than women do, and blacks experience more crime than other racial groups. The only thing I'm really concerned about right here is this stat. Men become crime victims more often than women. Yet why is it? The narrative is always about women feeling threatened. It's always about women saying, like, there's one meme that goes around feminists where they said, men are scared that women will laugh at you, women are scared that men will kill you. Listen, if you live in a world where you think men will kill you, you have some kind of derangement. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful by saying deranged. Like, I know it's like a negative connotation, but there's a delusion there. Men are substantially more likely to be crime victims. What I think we see in a lot of this discussion is there are guys who entertain delusion. There may be someone who starts believing some kind of paranoid delusion. And you get these male feminist types who are just like, oh, you're so right, and encourage this behavior. Then we get the narrative in this media from these activists that women are victims, that men are bad, that patriarchy exists, when in reality, we can look at government stats. Men are substantially more likely to be victims of violent crime. I am not scared when I go outside, and I'm more likely to be attacked. Why are you scared? What happened in your life that makes you feel this way? And unfortunately, you get these snake oil male feminists who are going to say, oh, poor you, and push this delusion. Look at this. Navigator said, can't relate. I think what you're suffering from may be an actual psychological disorder and not being a woman. I'm a woman. I'm not scared. James Lindsay said, thousands of people reinforcing her delusion and paranoia. It's so sad. Seriously. Now, a lot of people obviously come out and say, you know, someone says, how much of that is because you're a celebrity, though? I can't relate to this at all. I just yelled at 3 men who were catcalling. Yes. When people tweet, you will get people on the left saying, you know, poor baby, and reinforce that delusion. But let me make one more point very, very clear. This is from Pew Internet Research in 2017. Men and women see slight increase in online harassment over time, but differences between them remain modest. Percentage of U.S. adults who say they've experienced each type of online harassment, 2014 versus 2017. Look at this. Men and women. Every single category has men above women except sexual harassment and stalking. In terms of all harassment, men make up a larger, the majority of people who are harassed online. Let's go through this. Offensive name calling, 7% more likely to be men in 2017. Purposeful embarrassment, 3% more likely. Physical threats, 4% more likely. Now stalking, 2% more likely to be women. Sustained harassment, 1% more likely to be a man. And women are 4% more likely to be sexually harassed. Men face the overwhelming majority of online harassment, but for some reason, the narrative in the media is always about the poor female victims. They will tell you over and over again how women are harassed all the time, men can't understand, and they push this narrative saying, you know, there's a narrative that goes wild in journalism circles about how female journalists are harassed relentlessly. And the answer is, for one, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. Sure, women are more likely to receive sexual harassment and stalking, but everything, physical threats, offensive name calling, I get all these things all the time. And yes, even though men are more likely to be harassed across the board, men are still likely to be stalked and sexually harassed. Yet for some reason, this is what we see. Jamila truly believes that her anxiety and paranoia is the result of being a woman. But I can show you over and over again, you are less likely to be victimized. You are less likely to be harassed. You are less likely to go to prison. But for some reason, this is the narrative that persists. Activists in media. I think part of it is there's this tendency. It's actually a really fascinating thing. I've told this to my feminist friends. If there is any group of people on the planet that believes women are powerful, more than any other group, it's men's rights activists. And they always laugh when I tell them this, but it's true. Feminists and male feminists view women as weak. Male feminists who would support Jamila are going to view her as weak and terrified. See, look how she views the world. And you're going to get male feminists going, that's so wrong. Don't worry, there are good men. It's like, no, you're wrong. You're wrong. The world is not that dangerous. You are safe and privileged. She calls herself a feminist in progress, she, her. And she has this warped view of the world. And then people who just want to... Anyway, my point was, I grew up in a rather like kind of individualist, independent kind of way. I'm a skateboarder. And so I'm very much cognizant of reality and biological differences, but also how safe the world is and how you need to rely on yourself to a certain extent. These collectivist types view women as inherently weak. Jamila Jamil, one of the most powerful people on the planet. I'll say it straight up. She is a celebrity. She has 800,000 Twitter followers. She's verified and in all likelihood, very, very wealthy. Okay, she's on a TV show. Doesn't guarantee her, but I'm sure she's making mid to high six figures, or if not worth millions of dollars. And she's truly terrified because she thinks being a woman makes her less safe when the data suggests otherwise. I think it's kind of a mix of the sneaky male feminist. It's a really fascinating narrative that it's an evolutionary strategy among some men to pander to these women and tell them whatever they want to hear so they can get laid. And then you have an inversion to that where you have guys who are like, I don't got to tell you anything. I have no problem, taking care of business. And so perhaps that's really it. This delusional paranoid view is reinforced by people who either want something from her, want to be in her circle, or want to hook up. Let's scroll down a little bit more and see. This person says, please, playing the victim detracts from the valid points you make. That looks like a feminist who doesn't like the idea that she's saying nonsense. Someone said this is a pretty girl problem. I must be so ugly that no one actually looks at me. All women saying they get catcalls and their boobs stared at. Either I'm so oblivious to this or I'm super ugly and no one looks at. Wouldn't mind someone looking my way for once. And the response, you're so beautiful. There's like an overreaction to try and the victimhood is strong in this one. This is a mind-blowing tweet. But look, it's just one tweet. But I think this shows you that at the very least, Jamila Jamil is very, very influential. She just said to 800,000 people that being a woman is why she feels this way and she's scared of being in her house. No, this is a paranoid delusion and an agoraphobic response to things that aren't true. And I think someone needs to call it out. No disrespect, Jamila, but someone needs to point this out for your sake, right? You can't sit around and have this male feminist and feminist circle jerk claiming, yep, your life's terrifying, someone will kill you. That's not true. You're safe. You're in America. You are free to walk the streets. You've got very little to worry about for the most part. Crime happens. It does. But for the most part, you are substantially less likely to be victimized than a man. I get it. I've been told by feminists, yeah, but men can defend themselves. Whatever your opinion is, you're less likely to be attacked. We should never encourage this illusion. Whatever. I got one more video coming up in a few minutes. I will see you then.